Record.
Oh,
All right, dope. All right, what's up, world? Gumaro, aka R&B nerd here, and today we get to talk with singer-songwriter Penny, who has pen hits for your favorite artists and has just released his latest record, Link. Stay tuned to hear our conversation with this talented emerging artist. All right, Penny. So jumping right into it, I got to start off with a quick backstory. So how I came to discover you was through following Lyrica Anderson, who then I kind of came about of discovering Nefertiti Abani. And then I don't know the gentleman's name, but he goes by Publishing Guru on Instagram. And
yeah,
they all were really quick to support me when I think I covered a song that Nefertiti wrote for Lyrica. Guilty, I think it's called, or something.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so they were really supportive and they've been great. And so that's kind of how I came about discovering you and all of your work as well. So can you tell us a little bit how you met that group of creatives and how you met the business executive as well?
Absolutely. So around that time, I was looking for a publishing deal. I wanted to kind of see what the company life would be like, on a real scale, because I had a small admin deal with Atlantic before, but it wasn't anything like I was looking to receive. Um, so I hit up, Prince hit me up. His name is Prince, publishing guru, and he was just like, "Hey man, love what you do. I've heard good things about you. I've heard great things about you. Let's set up a meeting in Atlanta." So I came down to Atlanta. We had a meeting, and yeah, the rest is history. I met Lyrica, and then now me and Lyrica just so locked in. We actually have, not to tell too much, but we've been working on some stuff. So
Yeah.
uh, we have some things in the stash that are coming. Um,
Man, it's
Hopefully.
always in the stash. I see, like when I see, I saw you with SOS, another gentleman on Instagram, also
Mhm.
very supportive, always showing love as well. So you have a really good team of people you're working with, people that support, people that encourage. So I hope that that is reflective in as you as a person, and that there's going to be solid stuff that comes out of that. I got seen pictures of you and Lyrica too, so I know as a fan of R&B, like we're just waiting, like, oh yeah, like the day's gonna come, it's gonna be lit. So
Oh,
you're
it's
probably more excited than us though, to be honest.
it's gonna be it's see the only reason I'm so excited though is because I know what's coming, and like
Yo, oh, you've heard it.
it's gonna be, yeah, I wrote it, so it's gonna be
Oh,
like,
even better.
it's gonna be the craziest. It's honestly gonna be like one of those things where it's like, whoa. So like
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that. So
No, super. Yeah, we're all looking forward to it. So, in preparation for this interview, I'm gonna have to say it was really difficult to find anything I could on you. It was always pointing me in, a bunch of older white dudes when I type in like your name, and there's a bunch of variations out there. Because I noticed you released music under Tev. Now you're doing it under Penny. But
right.
those are pseudonyms. So my question is, kind of like your metamorphosis of going from one to the other, was all this intentional? Is this being hard to find, being low key? Is that like your vibe? Is that what you're trying to lead with?
I wouldn't say that I'm trying to lead with that. It's so
Okay.
funny because people who know me and know how much respect I have in the music industry, and know, how many people I work with, from Troy Taylor to Stevie Mackey to OG Parker to,
Yeah, seen them all. Yep.
what I'm saying, like all these people that I work with, um and then they try to, like, as you said, go do your reconnaissance and do your due diligence, and like, what's going on? So the thing about it
Yeah.
is that I'm actually happy it kind of worked out that way, because when things start coming to the light, it's going to be a really, really dope experience for people to be like, you know this isn't a new kid, like this kid's been doing this
He's
for
grown.
ever, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things I really give Troy Taylor a lot of credit for was him and Breland, and Will Gittins as well, is making me believe in myself as a writer.
Mm.
I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to have the lights and the fashion, all these other.
Notoriety, tension.
Exactly. And I was just like, and they were just like, "Yeah, dude, you can really write. Like, just write." And I was like, "I don't know about all that." Like, but
Mhm.
after having conversations with them, I decided to take it serious, and that opened more doors for me anything else ever had in my life. And I'm thankful for it because now that I am transitioning to being an artist, and I know you said I've released music through Tev, but Tev was more of just throwing things out there, just trying to. I'm bored. I want to release this.
Consistent, just trying to get
Yeah,
it out.
it wasn't anything that was serious or well thought out or well planned or have a rollout or nothing like that. So, um, Penny is the culmination of the two. So there's Tevin, and then there's TevThePen, and then Penny is the guy that's like, yo, I'm still a dope writer. I'm still a dope vocal engineer. I'm still a dope vocal arranger. Like most of the songs you hear that I've written, the backgrounds, all this type of stuff, I was the one who arranged them and sung them first and had, going through stacks and stacks and
Right.
runs. I'm giving the artist runs and things like that. And it's like it's really dope, but people don't. But if you pop out as an artist as the pen, then it's like people automatically only label you as a writer. And so I wanted to have something that allowed me to keep my identity as like who I am, which is a writer at heart,
Okay.
but be my own entity,
Got
you
it.
know, any,
Penny.
so
Yep. That
that's
makes
kind of where,
sense. Dope.
yeah.
Very cool. I mean, that definitely pieces together some of the questions I had. Just wondering kind of like what your journey's been like. Um, so like I mentioned, so some amount of elusiveness is always good. Like I said, it may not have been what you were leading for, but I think that, this allows you to kind of have a little bit more control over your narrative and the type of artist you want to present yourself as. So especially in today's age, of the inerasable digital footprint. And while combing through whatever piece of information I could about you, it's hard to miss that what I feel is like a huge thing for you. I saw on the grid, you had written on Kehlani's second album, studio album, on a record called Everybody's Business. And so I don't know if that's something that if you could share a little bit about that experience, as an R&B fan. I love Kehlani. We all love Kehlani. I'm sure,
Totally.
working with her was really dope. So if you don't mind.
Well, I was working exclusively with APG. As I said, I had an admin deal with them.
Okay.
Um, we ended up, long story short, it was a beautiful accident.
Okay.
The record ended up, being used. Um, Other than that, I truly can't give like too much more information on that
Sure.
because we had some we had some we had some conversations about it, and we've yeah well, everybody's in a good place. I've spoken to Kalani about it.
Right.
We've had conversations and everything, and of course she was a sweetheart, and
Understanding.
she's very understanding. She's one of the dopest people that I've ever encountered. And I honestly can't wait for her next album rollout, and hopefully some of the things I've submitted are selected for that. So
Dope.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, not to, to like be all, upfront with it, but the record you did contribute towards on that project is definitely a fan favorite. Everyone loves that record. So I hope that you hold that near and dear because it's even a personal favorite of mine. So, for
for
me to have this, even have the opportunity to speak with you and to connect in this way that we are, I'm super grateful and humbled and happy to kind of even just be talking with you because I love that record so much. So if you don't mind, would you uh, dive a little bit more into your life as a songwriter? Can you share some other writing credits or other projects that we may not know that you were a part of?
absolutely. As far as things that I've been a part of, those things it's more of the things I'm going to be a part of.
Okay.
Because the dangerous thing about being a writer and the beautiful thing about being a writer
Yeah.
at the because it's very very tricky. It's a lot of consistency, a lot of volume, a lot of luck, a lot of right place, right time, a lot of you know
Relationships, network.
tips, but you also have to be really talented. And that's the difference in being a writer and artist is that artists today truly, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some extremely talented artists in today's world, but marketability is the most important thing. And when you're a writer, you really don't have that to stand on because you're not in the public eye. So like I've had projects that I thought were coming out and then they got delayed a year or things like that. But people that I'm working with currently, Carvina Jones with Atlantic Records. She's with Generation Now, DJ Drama, Lil Uzi, Jack Harlow, that label. She's with
Got it.
them. And that girl is my absolute heart. I love her to death. She's one of the most, when I tell you, she's one of the best singers I've ever heard in my life. She's one of the best singers I've ever heard in my entire life. And
Wow.
that's not trolling. And I've heard Stevie Mackey sing, Avery Wilson, St. Harrison, like all these people that are
Yeah.
Carvina's up there with them. Um, Will Gittins as well. We have a song coming out.
Oh,
Pretty
that's
soon. Yeah, I'm super excited for that one. And it has John Conception as a feature on that song. So I'm very excited about that. He, who I believe was going to sign with LVRN, but she just signed another deal, and I can finally talk about it because she just posted about it.
oh yeah, I saw.
She just signed a Hitmaker,
Yep.
so I have a plethora of records with her. And then I don't know if you know Layla Day, but Layla Day is the artist that opened for Jessie Reyez on her entire North American tour.
Okay. Sounds familiar.
And she's from Canada as well, and I have some records with her coming as well. So we got a good bit of we got a good bit of stuff in the pipeline, and then
Yeah.
of course, Lyrica, a myriad of things with Lyrica. So I believe this year we should see from Penny maybe north of 15 placements. So
Dang. Lit.
yeah, very, very, very excited. And the timing could not be more perfect. Because honestly, if those things would have last year, some of them when they were supposed to, I mean, would have been great. But it's kind of a double-edged sword because now those things get to boost artistry.
Yep.
Now I wrote these, let me go see what he's about.
Yep.
And I'm super grateful. Super grateful.
Yeah, I'm sure you're recognizing the timing of things and how, like you said yourself, life things happen that kind of maybe would have not been the best. So makes sense. So thank you for that. What are some artists or songwriters that have inspired you from both a writing and an artist perspective?
Number one on my list will always be Breland.
Okay.
Uh, Breland was, for people who aren't familiar, he was a writer with Troy. He was with TTU, and he kind of took me under his wing as like his little apprentice or whatever you want to call it. And he was very hard on me. Like he was extremely hard on me. Him and Troy, obviously, but he was very hard on me. He's still very hard on me. But he ended up writing a record called My Truck that ended up going number one in the world. It's got millions and millions and millions of streams. And he signed to Atlantic Records as an artist now. So he'll always be my number one because he's the one that convinced me to start writing and really taught me how to really do it. So no one will ever have his spot in my head. As far as people that indirectly influenced me, I love the way Bryson Tiller writes his records. Love it to death.
Mm,
Um, I love the way that Black does his melodies. You
okay.
know, even his delivery and the way he delivers a line, because people don't really understand. There's a difference in being able to say something that's dope and being able to deliver something that's dope. You know, um, Drake, obviously one of the great lyricists of our time. J. Cole, obviously one of the great lyricists of our time. Um, definitely Usher
Okay.
has been a huge influence on my life. And this one may surprise you. This one may surprise you, but John Legend as well.
Okay.
Legend is the reason I picked up the piano and I can play all of his songs that he's ever put
So
out.
very
And
cool.
he was one of my biggest fans when I was in college. So yeah.
Cool. Love to hear that. It's every time I interview somebody, it's always interesting to see kind of like their headspace and to see where their artistry comes from. And so, whenever I hear things like I would have never expected John Legend, because I feel like I don't know, like John Legend, I feel like he hasn't gotten like the flowers that he deserves. And if like and it's just like, okay, that's cool. Like I think in the last prior interview, someone mentioned like tweet and I was like, another one, like doing crazy stuff. The
I,
culture knows, the culture
you know what's
left fire.
you know what's crazy though is that he actually just got a Grammy last year for like best R&B album,
Yeah,
and I'm like people don't even realize that like his respect level and his level of musicianship is still extremely high.
yeah,
His peak was like crazy, like John
yeah. Oh
Legend's.
man, yeah. It was inescapable for sure. And I remember those. I remember the time. I remember. Oh man, some great records for sure.
He was
Um,
undeniable.
so moving on to the next question. When you are creating songs, do you ever feel the need to hold back songs or in music that you've written, and how do you overcome that?
Yes, actually, when I first made Link, what's crazy? I have a bunch of music in the stash that's like a year, 2 years old, and like throughout all that time, Link is actually one of my more recent records, and it's funny because when I wrote it, I was like, man, Black would sound really good on this, or Bryson would sound really good on this. I even had him. I go name drop. I even had a couple people once I decided to keep it, try to get it from me.
Mm,
And yeah, man, like you definitely go through that. You definitely go through the mental qualm of having to be like, oh my God, this record is so amazing. Like I want this for myself. Like,
right.
no, but you also have to understand that sometimes you don't need to have an emotional attachment to a record because let's say for instance that record did go to Bryson. I mean, that record would probably be number one right now. I mean, you never know. It's like
Yeah.
no, you just never know. So it's like I don't have any emotional attachment to my records. I have an emotional attachment because I love them, because I made them. They're my babies.
Yeah.
But for me to be the person that has to sing them, I just feel like that's so egotistical and it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I've actually had friends of mine that could have had multitude of placements, but didn't because they were like, why would I write something for somebody else to sing? And I just think that's the wrong that's the wrong mindset to have when it comes to making music. So yeah, it's difficult having to hold back those songs, but at the end of the day, it's worth it because that's your catalog.
For sure. And Link, that I wonder if you have a record and it's something where you're like, was there ever like a hesitation, like maybe you want to put something out first, or was it like certain like this is my shit, I'm putting it out, this is what I'm pushing?
Yeah, this song. So I do something called um the I'll just call it the test because I can't come up with anything that's that's cute for it. Yeah. So I do a test. So I'll send it out to my normal people. Be like, hey, I got a new record. And their response is always get me, right? They'll either be like, this is amazing, this is fire, this is the best thing I've ever heard, or they'll be like, you better not give this song away. Every
Uh,
person that I sent the record to said that. Every single person, whether they were in music, whether they weren't in music, whether they just knew me and I was cool with them and I was just sending them a record like, hey, check this out, whatever. Every single person that said that, every single person said that. And I was like, man, like, is it really that great? And they were just like, we don't feel like anybody would deliver it the way that you did. You
hmm,
know, what's crazy is that Troy always taught me to make songs that are, sing, where people can sing along with the people that don't have these amazing voices can follow along and sing them. And I feel like that song is like that. However, I also feel like it it doesn't water down like the ability of the singer, right? It's not one of those cookie cutter songs where it's like, you don't have to try. But at the
yeah.
same, it's very relatable, it's very catchy, and it's just a really, really solid song. And I was listening, I listened to it and I tested myself. I listened to it for like 4 days straight and I never got tired of it.
Hmm,
I was, dang. I was like, man, we have to put this out. So
dope.
um spoke with the team and they were just like, absolutely. We shot a by the way, I'm announcing this to you first. There's a
Dope.
there's a video coming out of the song, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It is shot by Emmy Award winning videographer. It was shot on a Red One camera, which is like cinematography, like Hollywood, like movie shit. And yeah, it's beautiful. And I'm deciding whether to put it out this coming Friday or the Friday after that, but we'll see.
Yeah, man, build up the anticipation. I've spun the record a few times, maybe like 5 times, and I'll agree, it definitely does grow on you. And for me, because I know you can sing like crazy sing, so for me, I was like, it makes me think, and I'll mention this, and I'll say it for my review a little bit, but it makes me think like, what else is coming if I know he can sing, and like it's like you're just kind of tipping your toe in the water,
You
and
got
you're
it.
like, man,
Hey, you got it. Are you the police?
yeah, yeah.
You got it.
Okay, so I'm just gonna we'll leave it that we'll leave it at that. All right, so
Yeah.
as you make the transition from behind the scenes as a music creative and a songwriter, what would you say is your message as an artist? And you kind of alluded a little bit to this because you said that like if it's a song that you want to keep or that you couldn't hear anyone else kind of delivering that, I would assume that it's because it reflects what you want to say and what you want. If Google you, this is going to come up, it's going to be associated with you possibly for the rest of your life. So
Right.
what would you say your message is? And I know that's kind of a broad question, maybe philosophical, but if you had to answer.
It is, but it isn't, and I'll explain why. Because your message is you,
Mm-hmm.
right? I feel like when people say, "What message do you want to give?" I feel like people feel like they have to fabricate something. It's
Or
like you
give
really
some
don't.
like deep spiritual.
Correct. When you could
Yeah.
just really be who you are. And honestly, like I'm a young man. I'm 24 years old. I've been in multiple entanglements. Like I've made mistakes. I mean, I'm just calling it is, man. Like,
That's your
yeah,
life. That's your life.
that's life.
Yeah.
It's I have made some decisions I regret, even though all of them are learning lessons. And I feel like no one really. I feel like people. How they say like body shaming. I feel like people don't really talk about that part of their lives, and
Hmm.
it's super important because like that's what us young people are going through on a daily basis. I mean, guy meets girl, girl meets guy. They might go on a date. They might start messing around. They might decide, hey, we're just chilling, we're just having fun, and somebody catches feelings, and now it's a whole thing because it's
I
like,
gotta let
whoa,
it burn.
what do we do? What do we do? So it's like, I
Yeah.
feel like I feel like we all have went through that and have been through that. So I really don't hear people even speaking about that. And that's where Link comes in. It's if you notice the lyrics, it's like
Yep.
when you do it how you do it feels like more than a link. It feels like we're falling for each other. Like it feels like those things. And I've been in that situation before for sure. So I feel like my message is to be transparent in who you are, right? Whatever
Yep.
your love is, there's no such thing as a correct love story. No such thing. So whatever your story is, just be true to that. And just understand that, hey, one day I'm gonna find what's for me. And that may not be today and it may not be tomorrow, but you know what? It's gonna happen.
You believe
Because,
it.
yeah, because you have to believe it. And also something else that I really, really feel and I feel like is in all of my music is the vibe check. Like seriously, like I start hanging with, somebody and we're kicking it and it's a vibe, yo, let's do it.
Yeah.
you know,
Game
like
over. That's
let's rock, because
cool. And I like that you said that, it's about, it doesn't have to be something crazy. It can just be who you are. And I think that, especially from male, and I'll say even male R&B, I feel like that vulnerability, like there is vulnerability there, but I feel like it's still like kind of held back a little bit by this like
yeah,
no one's gonna get the best of me, or like I'm not a punk, or like there's always like a little bit of like I don't know. And even like, and we'll talk a little bit about collaborations, but even like collaborations, I feel like is almost becomes like a pride thing. So, we'll get to that. But I love that. That's a great answer. Has becoming an artist and being the one to express the songs and the music that you have inside of you, has that always been your plan A? Like that's been the plan from the beginning, or did that develop?
I was blessed at a young age to know exactly what I wanted to do. However, what I wanted to do was broad, right? So I knew I wanted to do music by the time I was 5 years old, but I always told myself, however it comes, I'll be happy.
Hmm.
You know, like if I'm a writer, if I'm a singer, if I'm, performing, if I'm doing backgrounds for big people, like I will be absolutely okay. I just wanted to make my impact and my footprint on the music world. And it's safe to say that I'm well on my way to doing that. So I'm very, very excited and happy about what's going on these days.
Dope. What advice would you give to anyone who wants to be a songwriter?
Be consistent and be honest with yourself. I used to think my records were so good. I used to think they were just the best thing anybody's ever heard. And being around other creatives, that's another thing too, be around other creatives. But being around other creatives who are better than you will
Hmm.
humble you very, very quickly.
Right.
It's not it doesn't do you any good for you to send your songs to your friends and they're like, oh, bro, this is the hardest thing I've ever heard. Like this is
Yeah.
because it's number one, there's bias.
Yeah.
And number two, they may not know, they may know as much as you know. So of course you made it, you think it's gonna be good, or you have to think there's some level of good for you to send it somewhere.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you need people that are gonna give you honest feedback, that are going to make sure that you understand why they're saying what they're saying. That's important too. Be on the lookout for that because you can be too far to the left and too far to the right. You could be like, well, I'm not gonna listen to my friends, I'm gonna listen to the professionals, but some of them just want to hate, right?
Hmm.
And that's a real thing in our industry. Some of them just want to beat you down.
For
But there are
sure.
some that genuinely see, hey, this person has a passion for what they're doing. Let me help. Let me give them a word of advice. Or let me be like, there could be one piece of advice that could change their entire outlook on writing and
Yeah.
song content. Yeah, just be around good people.
Dope.
They can,
Uh, you may not know, but I work with the 100 Percenters, who is like a songwriter advocacy group organization, and so what we're working on a bunch of different initiatives. But it makes me think to ask you if you could change some things about the current state of the industry from the perspective of a songwriter. What would you say needs to change?
um,
Because I know you mentioned having like thinking projects are going to come out, et cetera, that sort of thing, and I feel like that's a common thing.
it is extremely common, but you can't really change that. I would say compensation. I
Okay.
would say because because you're not in the forefront, people feel like you don't deserve every dime that you do deserve.
Mm,
And it's a very, very bad misconception. Because as a writer, like an artist gets in the booth and they turn their mic on, they turn the Pro Tools on, they're getting ready, and it's just air. It's just air. Producer, writer, they're the song. They are the blueprint to make what you're making. Now, that doesn't mean that we all don't work in tangent with each other because the artist gets in there and they kill it, right? They get in there and kill the record. But at the same time, there's no there's no mutual respect. And I feel
mm,
like it's better,
yeah.
because Asia, who I met because she was opening for Jesse as well. Beautiful, beautiful soul.
Yep.
Breland, people like that, Jazzy, people like Jazzy who are getting that recognition as writers. Even Lucky Day. People
Yep.
don't really. He's like 30 something. When he first came out, I thought he was my age, but he's been writing for Brandy and Tony Braxton, and you know what I'm saying. Like that's how he started his career.
Okay.
I'm not saying that there's no respect for us at all, but I'm saying I feel like there needs to be a little bit of a higher regard for that. Like the Grammys, I don't know if anybody noticed this, but this year was the first year they had the
Right.
category of
Songwriter of
songwriter.
the year. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Nija was
And
nominated.
right, right.
Yeah.
And that was something that we actually talked about. We had a meeting with Brian Michael Cox in the Atlanta chapter of the Grammy Association. We actually brought that up. We were like, "Hey, there's no awards for songwriters,"
Mm,
um, and it's just sad. it's just really sad because I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's just sad.
I feel you. Yeah, it's definitely something that's getting better though. Like you said, I feel like as people begin to start being vocal about it and remain vocal about it and getting more support behind what it means, I think the Grammys was a huge win for that sort of initiative. Moving on to your catalog. So, in preparation for the interview, I took time and listened to all your stuff that's on Spotify, and I can definitely hear the growth in your voice. But I feel like your essence as an artist has kind of like remained. If you had to answer, how have you been developing yourself from your EP, like it's the end, to now where we are with Link?
Ooh, you went in the archives for that one. Good lord.
Yeah, committed to this craft, man. Trying to do it justice.
Mm, Man, that's
So that was 2018, I believe, was when that first
like
EP
night
came out.
really like night and day, brother. I mean, like that was, without real engineering and real put togetherness. The piano, I played the piano on the song. My brother did the sax on that song. I had that song produced by a friend of mine. Like I wrote that song on piano. Like it's just
Okay.
it's just one of those things to where I look back at it and I say, man, that was cool to be able to do that at that age,
That is so
you know,
cool. Yeah.
and be able to have that experience. But now it's like my growth is I'm much more calculated in the things that I say and the way that I say them and how I feel people will perceive them because at the end of the day you have to realize that the consumer is the thing that makes your song go,
Mm.
right? Consumer can't vibe with it and can't mess with, like, I could think like it's the end was the best thing I've ever done and it's beautiful and everything and it's cool, but the reason I say it's beautiful and it's cool is because I know something like Link is something that transcends with the masses, and it's something that
It
people
goes
can really
beyond you.
correct. Goes
Yeah.
beyond me as
Mm.
an artist. You have to give you me, right?
Yeah.
Because it would feel off. But at the same time, I also have to give you you. I also have to give you something that you can enjoy, and your ears can be like, So, yeah, the growth has been absolutely phenomenal, and I just feel like consistency did it. Just
Cool.
being consistent, never stopping.
Yeah, I feel like the more I spend time in like on because I have like my like work life and then there's this whole other world that I kind of like curate from this side of it. And so I feel like the one thing I've heard is like, being what most people aren't, and that's consistent. So,
Right.
me doing this for me is kind of like me and affording giving myself that opportunity to keep being consistent and to keep going in that direction. So thank you for that. So Link is out now, super exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration for the record and who you worked on it with?
I worked on it with my boy, Elijah Jones, aka Vision, the GOAT. Me and Vision actually we have a beautiful partnership, man. Like a lot of these records that I have placements for, he produced them.
Okay,
And so we kind of have we kind of have a Shaq and Kobe thing going on. We have a very good dynamic duo type system. But
cool.
inspiration for Link was I wanted to talk about a situation where two people really where two people said that they wouldn't ever fall for each other, but now it seems like that they are, you know and it's like there are certain lines in there that allude to it. It's like, rock my tees, then you call me your homie. It's like it's just one of those things to where you can't really deny how much this girl or how much this man, how whichever side of
Right.
that makes you feel. However, you guys were not supposed to ever be doing that. So now there's this awkward silence, this middle ground, this 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 mask around what you
Like
really
an
feel.
unspoken sort of sentiment.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct.
Yeah.
Two people that are really mad at each other that are sitting at dinner and they just won't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Like two people that are mad at like sleeping in the same bed and they just won't
Right,
talk.
right, right, right.
It's like that. It's like, man, what are we doing? You
Yeah.
know? And but it's one of those things to where like I feel like that is such a thing in today's world. It's so relatable. I know for myself, I've been in plenty of those situations,
For
but
sure. No, definitely.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
You kind of said that earlier too, that this is kind of like what we feel is missing is like this discussion about what we're all living like in this day and age, day in and day out, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. And I feel like the record does such a great job at kind of I don't know, like it almost kind of like masks that vibe that there's like some
yes,
emotional things going
yeah,
on there because it's such a like sneaky with the link. You're like,
yeah,
you kind of just miss like, oh, there's some real shit going on here.
real
So,
shit.
and I love that. I think that that's so cool because you can be in the club or the lounge and hear something. And I've been hearing this on the laptop. I'm sure once I get in my car, it's going to be even
Oh
better.
yeah,
So, on the bigger speakers, more sound, it's going to make it, definitely pop. So, looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, I love that that it's kind of like this hidden thing where it's like you really got to pay attention to it, and but it's given in a way that's contemporary and feels fresh and is
yeah,
um
yeah.
a vibe.
So the music video actually does that as well. So you
Okay.
you guys like even bigger perspective on what the song really means.
Okay.
Uh,
Like this, like a story or something, maybe.
yeah, it's a, so I wrote the storyboard. I did the treatment and everything for it. So it came out. When I say beautiful, it came out beautiful, man. Like,
Oh, super excited. Well, leads me right to my next question. Does Link lead up to any other material, maybe another project, anything?
yep. So I actually have a content piece coming out.
Okay.
Um, it's a toxic interview series with some girls that I'm going to be interviewing. And then there's a music video coming out as well.
Yep.
And this will be followed by some music, a single coming in May. So, and then after that, the team and I we're going to kind of have a good gauge on if we
What
want
it's
to
looking like.
go ahead and do the project and stuff like that, or just keep it rolling with the singles, depending on how those are
Yeah.
going. So yeah, we have so much ammo in the stash. We just don't even know what to do with it at this point. So
Cool. So this is definitely like lift off, like all systems go, shit's moving forward. Okay, cool. Let's not stop. I love that. So I want to kind of again, we're still talking about your catalog. So you've done some really great collaboration work. You even mentioned which my personal favorite is your record with John Conception called Bliss. Seems like you have another record coming out with him pretty soon as well. What do you like about collabs and who would you love to collab with next?
collaboration is a beautiful thing. I mean, it's almost like having dinner and you got your steak and then you also have your mashed potatoes, your garlic mash. It's like you get you know what I'm saying? Like
The
you
garlic
get the
mash. Yeah, I get
full
it. Yeah.
you get the full taste of everything. So it's like an artist is gonna bring that different a collaborative artist or a feature artist is gonna bring that different type of feeling to your record.
Mm,
Um, honestly, it has the power to make the record um, live longer because people's attention spans are very, very short.
yep.
Songs that I click on people's albums and I'm like, oh, this person's on this song, let me listen to it. And I probably would have skipped that song if that person if the other person wasn't on it. But I'm listening to the entire song, waiting on the other person's verse to come
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
And so, like,
Yep.
if you think about it, it has the potential to make a record live longer, even because
Yep.
more people listen to more of the record. On average, people only listen to about 45 seconds to a minute of a record and turn it off. You
Mm,
know, so it's like it can do that. People I want to work with or collab with, definitely Breland. I honestly, I've written some country songs for Breland, and I would love to do a country record with Breland. That would be bonkers. That'd be beautiful. Um, I would love to collab with Will Gittins. I want to do a song with him. As far as artistry, I definitely want to do one with Lyrica at some point for sure. But Bryson Tiller, Drake, Chloe Bailey would love to do
okay.
one with Sabrina Claudio. Oh,
Yeah. Fire.
more reasons than just music.
Yeah. Oh, I feel you. I know. You
I
you ain't gotta say anything, man.
I know. I would love to do a song with her.
That's dope.
Who else? Who else do I just absolutely adore? Kalani, obviously. I mean, that would be
Right.
a dream for me. That'd be kind of crazy.
Yep.
Black, for sure. Black is actually really high on my list, and he's actually really attainable because I actually know his family and his dad and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
uh, actually, like pretty. I'm not gonna say we're like close, like we ain't like brothers or nothing like that. But
Yeah, yeah.
I've hung out with him, and we've had conversations. But yeah, I actually think that would be my short list of people that I would love
Yeah,
to do.
that's pretty. I mean, I would, I'd listen. I'd spin that. That's a pretty fire list right there.
Yeah,
So comparisons are inevitable, and I would have to say that there are. While listening to your, catalog that's on Spotify, I would hear. I don't know, like in the ad libs, I get like a little. I hear a little bit of Jacquees, and I don't know if you're a fan. You might not like that. You might not like. There's something, and I was like, it's the ad libs. Like the way you start ad libs remind me of the way he kind of goes into an ad lib. I know that might sound crazy.
that's totally fine. I
Yeah.
mean,
So if you get comparisons, who are
yeah.
they to, and what do you think about them?
I mean, listen, Jaquise, listen. I will never be mad at you at somebody comparing me to a platinum selling artist,
Right.
ever. I'm
Yeah.
never going. I would never be afraid of that comparison. Do I necessarily agree with it? I don't believe so.
Okay.
Um, I can see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot in my early days, believe it or not, is John Legend. My very, very early days, because people literally in high school called me Baby John Legend, literally. Literally called. They literally would tell me to call him and ask for child support. Like seriously,
Get the DNA test.
right? My early years, John Legend, but now it's more so like either Chris Brown, Bryson Tiller,
Okay.
um, Usher. I get Usher when I do songs that are in a higher register. I usually get Usher when I do that. Eric Bellinger, I've gotten that one before. Um, and when I do songs lower, I get Black a lot. I don't know why. I don't even know how to tell you why
Yeah.
people Black sound anything remotely alike. But I've gotten that comparison before. I've also gotten Mario before.
Maybe that's
Mario.
what I was hearing and not Jacquees.
I've also gotten Mario before.
Yeah.
And then when I'm in my high notes, like when I'm hitting the super,
Yep.
ceiling, I get Maxwell a lot. When
Okay.
I'm
That I hear for sure. Definitely. That's
yeah.
pretty cool. I mean, can't go wrong with any of those. And I'll say that for me, like when I think of Link specifically, I hear the Black, I hear the Bryson. Definitely get the vibe on that for that record. So, are there any up and coming artists that you would like to work with in the future? I know that you mentioned for collabs, those are pretty established artists. Anyone that's up and coming that you would work with in the future, if you could name any.
Layla Day for sure.
Okay.
Um, I mean Key. I mean, I definitely want to do something with Key. Which I don't know why we haven't already. It's kind of crazy.
Hmm.
Um, there's I'm trying to remember this guy's name, but I spoke to him. He's out in California. I spoke to him. I can't remember his name though. But he's a pop artist. He's really, really good.
Hmm.
That person, if I could ever remember their name.
Sure.
And then Grace Weber. Grace Weber is a singer. I think she's based in North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. But she's incredible.
Talented. Hmm.
So talented. And yeah, and that would kind of be my short list of people.
For sure. Dope. All right. And then really my last question is just what's next for you? I know we talked about, the upcoming project and then kind of gauging to see how the singles go and then the video. Is there and in the, there's also some placements coming out, I believe you mentioned as well. So is there anything else you want to share with us or
I, you know, my goal this year is to do 1 million streams. I don't know if
okay.
that's gonna be. I don't know if we're gonna do it on one record. I just want to hit 1 million at some point in my life.
Okay.
Uh,
I
this is the
think
year.
that's very doable.
Why not? Yeah, why not? Why
Yeah.
not aim for the moon? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that my music is touching people and is making people feel and making people have fun listening to records again. So what's coming next is a bunch of fun. It's
Dope.
I
Dope.
promise you that. Bunch of
Dope.
fun. Got
That's the
some
perfect that's the perfect answer. I mean, you really can't. I think I hope I would assume that as an artist, you really want you like looking to see what that react. I mean, part of it's for yourself.
right.
Let's say I have a project, you're like, okay, two of these records are for me, but you got to think about because the music's for the people, right? It's or else you would just make it and keep it in your room and no one would ever hear it. So yeah, that's I think that's the best answer. Well, that kind of concludes the question and the answer portion of this program. So I thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. And that's it.
Before we go, I just want to say, man, thank you. I love your platform. I love what you're doing. I think you are special, and I think people should definitely tip their hat to you as often as they can because it's really dope what you're doing. The fact that you even knew about like it's the end, just the dedication to your craft
For
is
sure.
super. So,
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's like I kind of like plug away posts and just kind of like throw my little lottery ticket out there to see where I can connect and who I can connect with. So it's been definitely makes hearing that feels good and makes me think of a lot of the other successes that I've had with this. So I really appreciate that.
man, well, you take it easy, man. Thank you so much for
All
having me,
right, for
bro.
sure. I'll send you some follow-ups with the links and all that, and we can go from there.
Bro.
Okay. Have a good night. Bye.